Well, hello everyone. It's so good to be with you today. Welcome to Monday's edition of Take 5. We're starting a brand new week. Had a great weekend. If you missed being in the worship service with us yesterday, man, we had a great day yesterday morning and a great meeting with the brotherhood, with the guys last night. Just a good day. I would encourage you, every opportunity you have to be in the house of God, take advantage of it and do it. I promise you, it'll change your life for the better. That's how God operates in the life of His people. Well, this week we're starting a new series, but we are kind of just tied it into what we just got finished talking about. You know, for the past several weeks, we've been talking about biblical generosity and God's expectations about our giving. Today and possibly next week, I want to talk about something we're calling the Faithful Steward. Because I believe it's necessary to understand stewardship and generosity. For years in the church, we just kind of threw them all together and we called any of our talks about giving, we called it stewardship. And, you know, after studying the scriptures, I just don't believe that's right to do that. I think we need to separate the two because they are separate, but they do work together. And I think we need to understand how they work together. Now, from the things that we've studied about giving, we know that we can't love and serve money and possessions more than we do God. That's, called worship of mammon, and we can't do that. We know that we cannot and are not supposed to give just to get something back. That's greed and twisting the scriptures. We do know that God expects our giving to be controlled by our heart and not by our head, because our head will let us down, but our heart never will. And we also know that when we give in obedience with the right heart, God will always, I said always, meet your need. You need to understand, when you do it with the right heart, He will always meet your need and increase your seed so you can give more, because God wants to bless you and me so we can be a blessing. He doesn't want to just bless us so that we can show out with what we've got. He wants to bless us so we can be a blessing. 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 10 and 11 says, "Now he that supplies seed to the sower and bread for food will supply and increase your store of seed and will enlarge the harvest of your righteousness. You will be enriched in every way so that you can be generous on every occasion." Notice he said He will enrich us so we can be generous. Now, we talked a lot about, spent 7 weeks talking about giving, but it's still only part of the equation, because people have been saying for years and still do to this day. They say things like this: well, I've tried to give, but I just can't get ahead financially. Or I'm always behind, or I can't afford to give, or it doesn't work for me. They say things like that. And most of the time when people say things like that, they may have tried to tithe one time. Or either they're giving, but their life is still filled with sin and they're disobedient to God in so many other ways, and they think giving is just going to take care of all of that, and it doesn't do that. You can't do that. And so then you have this group of people that say, well, I am trying, but it's just not working. I'm still in debt. I'm still broke. Ends still don't meet. I still have problems. I still got needs that need to be met. And that's what we want to address this week, because giving is only part of being blessed. Giving is married to this thing called stewardship, and the two of them have to go everywhere together, hand in hand. They're intertwined. They cannot be separated. Giving and stewardship, they're just knit together. They've got to be if they're to function correctly. Either one of them are good by themselves. Giving is good by itself. Stewardship is good by itself, but they are incomplete without the other. If you need an analogy of that, a word picture, if I can, if you would consider the concept of personal hygiene and grooming just for a minute. There are multiple items that make up all that's involved in grooming. You have to take a bath, you have to wash your hair, you have to brush your teeth, you have to apply deodorant, you have to comb your hair and get dressed. And it takes all of this and more for a person to completely groom themselves. When I hear a person say, well, I give, but it doesn't work for me, that's the same as saying, well, I combed my hair, but I still stink. They're not following the whole process. It's like saying, well, I put on deodorant, but my breath smells. There's a whole process that you've got to follow in order to do it. And if you're going to live in the divine blessings that come from biblical giving, we've got to do everything that the Bible tells us about handling finances. These two legs that biblical finances stand on, and that is giving and stewardship, you have to have both of them in order to walk through life. If you can see the picture just for a minute, if you have someone that is a giver but they're not a steward, that means one leg gets stuck. And if that one leg gets stuck and they're trying to walk with the other leg, all they're going to do is just walk in a circle. And that's where a lot of people are in their finances and with the things that are happening in their life. They're just walking in a circle because one leg is stuck. Or maybe somebody's just a steward and they're not a giver. Again, they're going to walk in a circle because one leg is stuck. It takes both of these legs to walk through life, to be what God intends for us to be the giver, to be the steward, and to be able to meet the needs that God intends for us to meet. If you're a good steward, if you give but you're not a good steward, God's never going to open the windows of heaven over your life, because if He did, He knows you're not going to manage them correctly. You give, but you don't manage correctly. You're not a steward. On the other hand, if you're a steward, but you don't give, we call that stingy, by the way, then God's not going to bless that either, because it's not His perfect plan. And so what we've got to do is make sure that we have these two working in conjunction. We've got to be a generous giver, but we've also got to be a faithful steward when it comes to managing what God has given us. God has all the resources that the world needs. He has everything that every need in this world is lacking. God has it. Every missionary, every church, every homeless person, every person that's without a job, God has all the resources. And standing between God, who has all the resources, and the people that have all the needs is the born-again believer. And if we are not standing on both legs, giving and stewardship, we will never be able to get the resources to the needs. God intends for us to be a river, not a reservoir. He intends for us to be a conduit, not a container. And in order to get it to them, we've got to have those two legs of giving and stewardship so that we can fulfill the biblical mandate that God has on our life. And when we fulfill that mandate, then we will see God's blessings in abundance back in our own life. This is going to be a good week. I'm telling you, we're going to uncover some things. Some things are going to be kind of hard, so you might want to put on your steel-toed boots before we get through the end of this week. Hey, I've got to get out of here. It's been good being with you today. Look forward to being with you tomorrow on Tuesday's edition of Take 5. Till then, God bless you. Have a great day. Remember, friend, trust the Lord. He will never fail you.